Speaker, I want to begin by recognizing the efforts here of our colleague, Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith of New Jersey is chairman of the Subcommittee on Africa, Global Health, and Global Human Rights, and we appreciate his strong leadership on this critical issue. And as always, I also appreciate Ranking Member Engel for his support. And Mr. Speaker, more than 6 years ago, the world watched with dread as the Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad ordered an action against what were peaceful protesters coming down the street, the main boulevard in Damascus. We watched on CNN or on international television as they were peaceful, and then we saw the automatic weapons of the regime open up and mow them down. And what has followed has been year after year of mass atrocities as Assad seeks to break the Syrian people. Building on the vacuum created by Assad, ISIS burst onto the international stage in 2014, declaring themselves and their supposed caliphate and committing obscene, horrific acts in an effort to spread their nihilistic, death-filled ideology. We also saw at the time that they targeted anyone unlucky enough to cross their path across Syria and Iraq, and yet, oddly enough, the regime in Syria did not target ISIS. They were too busy carrying out their campaign against the people of Syria and against the protesters, and then against the Free Syrian Army and others who were pushing back against the regime. But here, alongside the nightmare that Assad created, came this new nightmare of ISIS. And these two evils, as I would call them, ISIS and Assad, exist side by side, perpetrating extreme violence on anyone who would oppose their grip on power. ISIS is committing genocidal violence against Yazidis and Christians in Syria and in Iraq, seeking to destroy their entire communities, seeking to erase their shared histories. Assad is committing massive crimes against humanity, targeting men, women, children, from all sects, from all religions, from all, as documented by the photographer Caesar, a military photographer who snuck out those photos of what goes on in Assad's prisons, documenting the torture to death of tens of thousands of citizens in Syria. So, more than a year after the administration, the Obama administration, under intense congressional pressure, finally declared that ISIS's actions against the religious communities of Iraq and Syria constituted genocide, there is still an urgent need for assistance to these vulnerable communities. These communities, which exist on the outskirts, which exist in Syria and on the borders, they have been devastated by ISIS's efforts to wipe them out. And these ancient communities whose roots go back centuries after centuries and include Christians and Yazidis, Assyrians and Syriacs, Turkomans, well, it also includes many others. And their presence in Iraq and Syria is crucial to the social fabric of these nations. And while the U.S. has been generous in providing assistance to those targeted, their needs are still urgent and extreme. Whole communities have been displaced and enslaved and slaughtered. Survivors need assistance in feeding and clothing their families and in beginning to address the extreme trauma caused by ISIS and caused by Assad. And this bill offers additional immediate relief for these vulnerable communities and also directs the State Department to do more to support efforts to collect evidence of genocide, crimes against humanity, and war crimes, so that someday justice might be served I urge members to support this resolution so that the possibility of justice and accountability for these atrocities can give hope to those suffering today, and I reserve the balance of my time.